We see actors do a lot of crazy fighting in movies. Insert fighting clip. But do any of these guys' fighting skills hold up in real life? These guys are the Expendables, whose fighting skills are indispensable. And I'm talking about real-life fighting techniques. Some of the actors are going to surprise you, and some, yeah, we know are already legends, but I guarantee you will learn something new. So, let's fight. Bruce Lee. Let's begin with the legend himself. Bruce Lee wasn't just an actor, he was a philosopher, a teacher, and practically a superhero in real life.
It might sound too philosophical, but it's unacting acting or acting unacting.
Born in San Francisco but raised in Hong Kong, Bruce was introduced to martial arts at a very young age. He trained in Wing Chun under the iconic IP Man and went on to develop his own style, Jeet Kune Do. Talk about blazing your own trail. I mean, you remember watching Enter the Dragon, right? The way he moved? Man, it was like poetry in motion, but with the force of a freight train.
Like a small play, but played serious.
His 1-inch punch is still the stuff of legend. I mean, who else could send someone flying with a move so subtle? Watching Bruce Lee perform, you could tell there was something almost otherworldly about him. It wasn't just the speed or the power, it was the energy he carried, the way he seemed to channel his inner spirit into each movement. He made martial arts look like art, and in a way, he was the art.
Just keep away. Go on. It's not your fight.
But Bruce wasn't just breaking records and making films, he was also breaking barriers. At the time he hit Hollywood, Asian actors were usually boxed into stereotypical roles. Good luck finding a lead role for an Asian man during that time. And then, along came Bruce. Truly a force of nature to anyone who watched. He redefined what was possible.
A martial artist has to take responsibility for himself and accept the consequences of his own doing.
He strutted onto the screen in The Green Hornet. On paper, it was not a huge role, but it was one of the first big Hollywood gigs, and then he just kept going. 1973, yes, Enter the Dragon. And boy, that film, well, it catapulted Bruce into a global superstardom. Suddenly, the action genre was more exciting than ever, and Bruce proved you didn't need to be a 6-foot-tall all-American hero to be a star in the States. Bruce Lee brought authenticity to the action genre like no one before him, making his fight scenes look both effortless and mesmerizing, all while still being grounded in the philosophy and discipline of martial arts.
You're keeping the continuity going, bending, stretching.
Now, here's the part that gets me. Bruce Lee wasn't just a film star, he was a teacher. Did you know he trained Steve McQueen, James Corbin, and yeah, even Chuck Norris? Yeah, we'll get to that guy soon, but man, these guys, legends in their own right, turned to Bruce to show them the ropes. And it wasn't just about learning a few moves. I read that Bruce taught them the mindset, the discipline, and the philosophy behind martial arts. He wasn't just passing on his skills, he was passing on wisdom. We're gonna see a few names over and over as these masters train each other to become masters, but apparently, even though they shared martial arts mastery in common, Steve McQueen and Lee didn't actually become proper friends.
Steve McQueen, now he is good in that department.
McQueen's biographer said that apparently Steve was too paranoid to make friends easily, so they stayed at professional arm's distance until time made brotherhood inevitable. And even though Lee left us way too soon, I mean geez, he was only 32 years old when he passed in 1973, his legacy, it still looms larger than life. He didn't just revolutionize martial arts films, he changed the entire game for Asian actors in Hollywood, and his influence is still so felt today.
Now you listen to me. I'll only say once. We are not sick men.
And when you watch one of his films, it's hard not to feel that sense of awe, that drive to push yourself harder, to be better. I mean, the guy's been gone since the early 70s, but even today you can find him plastered on walls in America because, well, the legend never dies. Chuck Norris. Oh, Chuck Norris, the man, the myth, the legend. The boogeyman checks under the bed for Chuck Norris. You know, A Black Widow spider once bit Chuck Norris. After 2 agonizing hours, the spider died. They're fantastic. You remember all those tough guy jokes, right? The Chuck Norris jokes, right? Well, Chuck became a pop culture icon for being just that tough, but let's dive into the real story behind the legend. Long before he was Walker, Texas Ranger, Chuck was dominating the karate circuit. He started his martial arts journey while serving in the Air Force in South Korea. Now, this wasn't just a hobby for Chuck, this was a foundation. By the time the 60s rolled around, Chuck was a karate champion. He even held the title of World Professional Middleweight Karate Champion for 6 consecutive years. Yeah, that's right, 6 years straight. Talk about a guy who knew how to throw a punch.
Hands are up. As he charges in, punching straight into the face. Twisting and punching.
Well, you don't get that kind of reputation by being anything less than dedicated, you know. Chuck didn't just train, he lived and breathed martial arts, and it paid off big time. Now, you probably first caught him in Way of the Dragon, going toe-to-toe with none other than Bruce. That fight scene in the Coliseum is still one of the coolest showdowns in cinematic history, I think. The way Chuck's raw power clashed with Bruce's speed and precision, it's epic. It wasn't just a fight, it was 2 martial arts legends at the top of their game, and boy does it still hold up today. I think more than a few of us compare the stuff they crank out today versus this bit of cinematic history, and I gotta say, nothing's gonna beat it. Now, Bruce Lee may have been that fast and fluid technician, but Chuck, boy, he was the embodiment of power. And after that, Chuck's career took off. He became the star of a whole genre of action films, known for his no-nonsense, take-no-prisoners style. Films like Missing in Action and Delta Force, it made him a household name. But it wasn't just about being a tough guy on screen. Chuck became synonymous with discipline and focus and strength.
Tough in real life, are you?
Now be nice.
Fast forward to the 90s, and yeah, Walker, Texas Ranger came along. Now, this wasn't just a show about a tough Texas lawman. It became a cultural phenomenon. Chuck wasn't just acting in a show, he was influencing an entire generation. You couldn't get through an episode without hearing about his character's unshakable sense of justice. Or his epic roundhouse kicks. And those roundhouse kicks, yeah, they became his signature, almost as iconic as his martial arts history. Now these days, Chuck's a bit more low-key, but he's still out there spreading his love for martial arts. Now he's dedicated to teaching the next generation. And you know, Chuck doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk and punches the punch. The guy's still kicking, pun totally intended, and staying active in the martial arts community. You just can't deny it. Chuck Norris is more than just a tough guy in movies. He's a legend who's left a lasting impact on the martial arts world, Hollywood, and pop culture itself. Jackie Chan. Now, who doesn't love Jackie Chan? The guy's a national treasure, except for the whole globe, so international treasure. Insane talent and a huge heart, pretty much the full package. Born in Hong Kong, Jackie's journey to martial arts stardom is almost as legendary as the stunts he has pulled off, most of which he insists on doing himself, much to the dismay of doctors everywhere probably. From a young age, Jackie was immersed in the arts. He trained at the China Drama Academy, where he learned acrobatics, traditional Peking opera techniques, and a whole range of disciplines. This eclectic mix of training set him up to do something no one else could: combined martial arts with comedy and stunts in a way that was so unique. He didn't just want to be a martial artist on screen, he wanted to redefine what action could be, and boy did he ever. Fans of martial arts of course remember classics like Drunken Master and Police Story. I mean, those films weren't just action-packed, they were jaw-dropping displays of what Jackie Chan could do. From sliding down a skyscraper to jumping through a tiny window, his stunts were as daring as they were creative. The guy just didn't need a stunt double. Jackie was doing it all himself. Every high-flying kick, every acrobatic flip, every danger stunt, Jackie did it, risking life and limb for the audience. And let me tell you, it wasn't all glamorous. Jackie's body has paid the price. He's had more broken bones than most of us have ever had doctor visits. He even dislocated his pelvis while filming Armor of God, and he just kept going. Yep, talk about dedication, I don't have that, but that's what Jackie Chan is. He's always making us gasp in awe at what he can do next. When Rush Hour hit, it brought Jackie to an entirely new audience, and for good reason. His chemistry with Chris Tucker, it was hilarious, it was electric. And it was like, hey world, now you finally get to see the magic of Jackie Chan on a massive scale. But we can't forget the early days. His fight scenes were so smooth, so precise, but always with a bit of humor involved. And I think it's that balance of grace and goofiness that set Jackie apart from every other action star. Even now, he's still out there, mentoring young talent, performing when he can, and proving that age doesn't slow him down. He's a true martial arts innovator, and the energy he brings to the screen, even today, is something we can all admire. Jackie Chan is more than just an action star. He's a true icon, and the guy just doesn't quit. I think we could all use a bit of that Jackie Chan spirit in our lives, don't you think? Jet Li. Jet Li was practically born to be a martial arts icon, the same way my kid sister was born to eat the last of the cookie dough ice cream without sharing any. Growing up in Beijing, Jet Li, not me, he started practicing wushu at just 8 years old. And by the time he was a teenager, he was already a national champion. Now, it wasn't just the skill, there was something about his presence that made him stand out. The way he moved, the fluidity, the precision, it was like watching someone who had martial arts in their DNA. That's when he began getting the name the Kung Fu Kid after his string of victories. It was clear from that early age, Jet wasn't just another martial artist, he was a future star in the making. When he transitioned to acting, it was like watching a tiger unleashed. Films like Shaolin Temple and Once Upon a Time in China, they didn't just show off his insane skills, they showed off his ability to tell stories with his body. Each fight scene was a choreography of grace and power, a perfect blend of martial arts and cinema. The way Jet made each movement look effortless, even in the most demanding of fight sequences, is what made him so special. He wasn't just a guy throwing punches, he was an artist at work. And yeah, we can't forget Lethal Weapon 4 because I love that one. Where Jet's role as the villain had him making Danny Glover and Mel Gibson look like they were playing catch-up. It was a fight scene for the ages, and Jet brought a sense of danger and discipline that made it unforgettable. But Jet's career didn't stop with just action-packed roles. One of his most iconic performances came in Hero, where his precision and grace were on full display in a visually stunning masterpiece. But even in his quieter moments on screen, there was something deeply captivating about Jet. His stillness was just as powerful as his action sequences. Now off-screen, Jet has always been deeply committed to philanthropy, using his fame to raise awareness and help others, particularly in the realm of health and well-being. Now these days, he's slowed down a bit, but his impact on martial arts cinema, it remains eternal. Jet Li proved that you don't need to be flashy or over the top to leave a lasting impression, you just need to be as authentic and precise as he was. Steven Seagal. Love him or roll your eyes at him, Steven Seagal made waves in the martial arts world, and for good reason. His story starts in Japan, where he fell in love with Aikido, a martial art known for its focus on fluid movement and redirecting an opponent's energy. Also for hitting enemies really hard with sticks while looking super cool in swishy uniforms. To be clear, Seagal didn't just learn it, he mastered it. In fact, he made history as the first Westerner to operate an Aikido dojo in Japan. Talk about breaking barriers. His journey wasn't typical by any means, and that made him stand out even more when he hit Hollywood. When he transitioned to movies, Seagal's style was unlike anything audiences had seen before. While many martial arts stars were all about high-flying kicks and rapid punches, Seagal's approach was grounded and calculated. His technique revolved around precision and joint locks, making him look like a human bear trap in action. Watching him in Above the Law or Under Siege was like seeing someone effortlessly take down opponents with minimal movement, like watching a sleek, deadly force of nature. His fight scenes were cold, they were controlled and so powerful, and he quickly carved out his own niche in the action genre, offering something a little more realistic and grounded than the typical fast-paced martial arts flicks at the time. Now, Seagal's later career and personal antics might have overshadowed his early glory, but you can't deny the man knew his craft.
Concerned me greatly because if it gets into the aquifer, it could destroy the drinking water for thousands.
And he brought a sense of realism to action films in the 80s and 90s, showing that martial arts wasn't just about flash and style, it was about strategy and precision. Sure, his later years have been pretty polarizing, but there is something about those classic action scenes that still hold up today. And so, whether you loved him or not, Seagal left an undeniable mark on martial arts cinema. Cynthia Rothrock. Yes, how about some love for the ladies? Let's talk about Cynthia Rothrock, one of the most groundbreaking martial artists to ever grace the screen. Cynthia isn't just one of the best female martial artists, she is one of the best, period. If you're familiar with her work, you know she's got some very iconic moments in film. One standout scene that instantly comes to mind is from Yes, Madam, where she takes on a group of attackers in one of the most dynamic, jaw-dropping fight scenes of the era. Just thinking about it gives me goosebumps. They just don't choreograph like that anymore. This is something a lot of people can agree on too. The way she moves, those high, powerful kicks, the fluidity, the technique. She has inspired a lot of martial artists and filmmakers. That scene alone is still cited as a high point in martial arts choreography. But what makes Cynthia's work so special isn't just her ability to fight, it's her authenticity and presence. Whether she's using her fists or wielding weapons, she's believable in every fight, and you can feel that energy through the screen. Before she stepped into the spotlight of Hong Kong and Hollywood action films, Cynthia was already a force to be reckoned with in the martial arts world. She didn't just start practicing for fun, she went all in. She grew up in Pennsylvania and she was drawn to karate and Tang Soo Do. And by the time she hit her 20s, she was a 5-time world champion in both forms and weapons. not like Cynthia got handed these titles either. She earned them through years of hard work, determination, and a dedication to mastering her craft. When she finally caught the attention of Hollywood, she was ready to make waves. Movies like 1990's China O'Brien and Yes, Madam didn't just show off her ability to kick above her head or fight off a group of attackers. They showed the world that women could take center stage in action films too. Stop me if this sounds crazy, but at the time, the industry wasn't exactly known for making female martial artists the lead. But Cynthia was about to change that. And here's something a lot of people don't know about Cynthia Rothrock. She didn't have an easy ride to success. In fact, early in her career, she faced a lot of skepticism. At that time, the action film world was a pretty tough place for women to break into, especially if you were serious about martial arts and not just playing the token female role. Cynthia had to fight for the chance to prove herself, and she did it with grace and skill and quickly became one of the top action stars of the 80s and 90s. And you know what? It wasn't just about being tough on screen. Cynthia lived and breathed martial arts. Even after her peak in Hollywood, she continued to stay active in the martial arts world, teaching and mentoring young fighters.
And let you, do that technique. So if I hit her in the nose with a back fist, she's going to move back.
And what I really love about Cynthia is that she didn't let anything stop her, not even the challenges that come with being a woman in a male-dominated industry. Even as she struggled with injuries over the years, she kept pushing, she stayed involved in the martial arts community, and helped others hone their skills. Cynthia Rothrock's story isn't just about making films, it's about breaking barriers, inspiring a generation, and showing us that true strength comes from dedication and resilience. Even today, she's still out there, showing the world that you don't stop being a martial artist just because the cameras stop. If you haven't seen her in action, it is time to fix that. Cynthia Rothrock is, without a doubt, one of the most influential figures in the world of martial arts and action films alike. Jean-Claude Van Dam. Ah, the muscles from Brussels. Jean-Claude Van Damme's story is the ultimate underdog tale. Growing up in Belgium, he was a scrawny kid who took up karate and bodybuilding to boost his confidence. By his late teens, he'd become a karate champion and even studied ballet to improve his balance and flexibility. That's right, ballet, and it paid off big time.
Flexible with the legs.
Come on,
it's like
Brad.
we can have a long reach. Example.
Yeah.
But let's talk about how that mix of ballet and martial arts turned Jean-Claude into a global sensation. When Bloodsport hit theaters, yes, Bloodsport, in 1998, it was like nothing we'd ever seen before. Van Damme's high kicks, lightning-fast moves, and let's not forget, the iconic splits made him an instant action star. It wasn't just the fighting though, it was his undeniable charisma. Jean-Claude had this rare combination of raw power and grace that made him stand out in a way no one really expected. The guy could break a board with his foot and then do a full split in midair like it was nothing. He became known for those show-stopping moves, and people couldn't get enough. But like any great underdog tale, it wasn't always smooth sailing for JCVD. After the success of Bloodsport and other hits like Kickboxer and Time Cop, Van Damme went through some pretty public struggles, drug issues, personal setbacks, and a few movies that did not land as well as expected. But here's the thing that makes him stand out. He's always been open about his flaws and mistakes. He didn't hide from his past, he owned it. And that honesty, that vulnerability, it made him even more relatable to fans. Through it all though, Jean-Claude didn't give up. He took on roles in the 2000s that showed a different side of him, including his well-known role in 2008's JCVD, where he played a fictionalized version of himself struggling with a career. It was a move that proved he wasn't just an action star from the 1980s, he was an actor who could tell a story. Talk about a Renaissance man, if, the painters also broke bricks with their feet. Nowadays, he's still keeping in shape and making appearances in films, even though he's not quite the box office draw he once was. But let's be real, whenever Jean-Claude pops up, whether it's an action flick or a comedy like The Expendables 2, which I think is both, it's like we're all transported back to those 80s glory days. No one else can do the splits quite like JCVD, and I don't know if anyone else ever will. Donnie Yen. If you're a fan of modern martial arts films, Donnie Yen is probably one of your favorites. Born in China, Donnie grew up in a household that emphasized martial arts. His mother was a martial arts master herself, so yeah, you can say it runs in the family. Donnie trained in wushu, tai chi, and even dabbled in boxing and kickboxing. But here's what makes Donnie Yen stand out from the rest. It's not just his mastery of various martial arts, it's how he seamlessly blends them into his performances. Donnie's big break came with 2008's IP Man, where he portrayed Bruce Lee's legendary teacher, Wing Chun master IP Man. Watching Donnie execute Wing Chun techniques with such precision wasn't just impressive, it was mesmerizing. That film didn't just showcase his physical skills, it allowed Donnie to delve into the philosophy and spirit of martial arts, earning him critical acclaim and making him an international star. And from there, yeah, his career skyrocketed. He continued to deliver standout performances in action films like Flashpoint, Special ID, and Killzone 2, where his skills and screen presence only grew. And while he's best known for his martial arts expertise, Donnie's career has taken some interesting turns. One of the most exciting, I think, was his role as Chirrut in Rogue One: A Star Wars Story from 2016. Not only did he bring his martial arts flair to the Star Wars universe, which is awesome, but his character also added a unique, philosophical layer to the film. Donnie's combination of charm, wisdom, and combat ability made Chirrut a standout character, proving he could excel in huge Hollywood franchises. But here's the thing. Donnie Yen has never been content to just be an action star. He's constantly evolving, not just as an actor, but as a producer and director. Whether it's continuing his successful IP Man franchise or collaborating on new projects, Donnie continues to shape the future of martial arts cinema. Today, Donnie remains at the top of his game. He's in his 50s now, but his dedication to martial arts and his ability to adapt to new styles and techniques, it means he's always delivering top-tier fights. And despite the changing tides in the action genre, Donnie proves that martial arts still has a huge place in modern cinema. Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes may be best known as Blade, but his martial arts credentials go way beyond wielding a katana on screen. Wesley started training in martial arts when he was just 12, eventually earning black belts in Shotokan Karate and Hapkido. His dedication to martial arts has always been a core part of his identity, and it shows in every fight scene he has ever filmed. Growing up in New York, Wesley wasn't just another kid in the neighborhood. He was focused, determined, and always looking to improve. His love for martial arts wasn't just about self-defense or fitness. It became a way for him to connect with his mind and body, something that would stay with him throughout his entire career. Now let's talk about how Wesley brought his martial arts mastery to the big screen. It wasn't just an overnight success, but when he did get his shot, it was a game changer. Films like 1992's Passenger 57 and 1993's Demolition Man, it gave Wesley the chance to show off his athleticism and his fight choreography. He wasn't just another action star throwing punches, he had a fluidity and precision that made every move look like it was choreographed to perfection. In Passenger 57, for instance, his character is calm under pressure and moves with such confidence that you can almost feel the impact of every punch. Then came Blade in 1998, where Wesley truly made a mark in the action and comic book world. His portrayal of the half-human, half-vampire hero was legendary, and what stood out was how Wesley incorporated his martial arts techniques into the character. Those fight scenes with the fast-paced combat and incredible acrobatics became a benchmark for superhero films, setting a standard for how action could be done in that genre. But Wesley's journey wasn't just about hitting the big screen and staying there. He's faced a fair share of obstacles and controversies along the way.
Sometimes people hold on to too many of the bad memories and forget.
Yep, the tax troubles, the legal issues, and the occasional career setback. But through it all, his commitment to the craft, it never wavered. In fact, those ups and downs only seemed to make him more determined to come back stronger. Wesley has always been a fighter in life, not just on screen. Even as the Blade franchise started to wind down, Wesley stayed relevant by making guest appearances in The Expendables 3 and Brooklyn's Finest.
Watch what you walk out.
And let's not forget his return to TV with 2015's The Player, where he once again showed he hadn't lost his touch for action-packed roles. Looking back, Wesley Snipes is much more than just a guy who played Blade. He's a martial artist who brought his real-life skills to the screen, blending athleticism with charisma to create characters that left such an impression. Nowadays, fans still clamor for a Blade reboot with Wesley in the lead, even though the Blade tides had turned and we're getting a new one. But it proves how much of a cultural icon his Blade was. And even though he's been through his share of challenges, Wesley's story reminds us that no matter what life throws at you, your true talents will always shine through.
What the hell are you doing? I want your pussy!
Tony Jaa. Tony Jaa. If you've seen him in action, you know this guy's a force of nature. Born in Thailand in 1976, Tony's story is one of those rags to riches tales that's almost too good to be true. Growing up in a rural village, he didn't exactly have a Hollywood-style upbringing, but he had a passion for martial arts, and that passion began early. He was inspired by others on this list, Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee films that he and his father would watch. And it wasn't long before he started practicing Muay Thai, the martial art that would make him a legend. Now, Tony didn't just study Muay Thai, he lived it. He trained relentlessly, even going so far as to learn traditional Thai stunt work. His commitment was so deep that by the time he hit his 20s, he was already performing stunts in other films before he made his own debut. The movie that really put Tony on the map was On Bak, the Thai warrior in 2003. Now, if you saw that film, you probably remember how jaw-dropping the fight scenes were. There was something so raw and authentic about Tony's style. It wasn't about fancy camera tricks or CGI, it was about pure, unfiltered martial arts. In Ong Bak, Tony brought Muay Thai to a global audience and the world took notice. His agility, his speed, and his strength were like nothing anyone had ever seen. And the best part, he did it almost all himself.
Man, that's it? That's all you got, baby? What the hell is that?
There's something so captivating about watching Tony Jaa flip and jump and kick his way through these insane fight scenes, and it's all him. No wires, no doubles, just raw talent and pure dedication. Tony didn't stop with On Bak either. He went on to make even bigger waves in films like The Protector and Tom Yum Goong. But it wasn't just his fighting that made him stand out, it was his commitment to preserving traditional Thai culture and martial arts. Now, Tony has become a cultural icon, and not just in Thailand, but worldwide. Tony Jaa brought a fresh, authentic energy to the action genre, and his impact has been huge. These days, Tony Jaa's still out there kicking butt in movies like Fast and Furious 7 and Triple Threat. So whether you're a longtime fan or just getting into his films, one thing is for sure. Tony Jaa is a name that will be remembered for generations to come. Michelle Yeoh. You know, it's hard to talk about Michelle Yeoh without feeling like you're talking about someone who's practically a superhero. Born in Malaysia in 1962, and while a lot of us were focused on our own little corners of the world, Michelle was already dreaming big. She started out in ballet, she trained in London, and while dancing and fighting might not be the most intuitive toolkit, having that dance background, it makes a huge difference in fight choreography. But as life often does, it threw her a curveball when she moved to Hong Kong in the early 80s. That's when she made a pretty big leap into the world of film. It's kind of wild to think about. She's went from ballet dancer to a fierce action star. One day she's in Hong Kong, and the next she's stepping into a commercial that changes the direction of her life forever. And let me tell you, when Michelle stepped into the world of martial arts, she didn't just dip her toes in it, she dove headfirst. She trained with top instructors, and it wasn't long before she became known for doing her own stunts and fight scenes, something that really set her apart from other actors at that time. You might remember her in Police Story 3 Super Cop alongside Jackie Chan, and that movie wasn't just a hit, it was a game changer. Michelle was right there with Jackie, taking on some of the most intense action sequences and holding her own like a true pro. It wasn't just about being tough. Michelle brought something unique to the table, blending that elegance of ballet with the power of martial arts. And that combo, it made her an icon, plain and simple. But yes, let's talk about Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon for a minute, because if you were around when that came out, you know it was something seriously special. The impact of that film went way beyond just incredible fight choreography. Michelle, along with the rest of the cast, helped bring a cultural revolution to the silver screen. For so many people, it was the first time they saw a martial arts film that wasn't just about action. This one was about depth and beauty and storytelling. It was a moment for Asian cinema to shine on the world stage. And Michelle Yeoh was right in the heart of that. The film didn't just break box office records, it changed the way we saw martial arts film. And since then, yes, Michelle has just kept breaking barriers. Now flash forward to 2022, and she just did Everything Everywhere All at Once, and wow. That role earned her an Academy Award nomination. She's not just a martial arts legend anymore, she is a cultural force. She's an artist, she's an actress, and she kicks ass. It's like Michelle has always been ahead of the curve, and it's incredible to watch how her influence just continues to grow. Scott Adkins. Let me tell you about Scott Adkins. If you're into action movies, you know this guy is the real deal. Born in 1976 in England, Scott didn't exactly start out with martial arts on the brain. In fact, he was into gymnastics and sports growing up, but it wasn't until he was a teenager that he started getting into martial arts. He took a particular liking to kickboxing and taekwondo, and before long, he was obsessed. His dedication paid off when he started competing and racking up medals, and before long, Hollywood was starting to take notice. He wasn't just another pretty face in the action world, he had real skill too, and you could tell right away from the intensity and precision of his fights. Now, Scott's rise to fame didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like he showed up in Hollywood and landed a starring role, no. It took a lot of hard work and a bunch of small roles before he made his mark. One of his big breaks came in 2004 when he landed a part in Undisputed 2: Last Man Standing. Now, if you haven't seen this one, it's worth a watch because that's when Scott really showed the world what he was made of. His fight choreography was insane, and from that point, it was clear that he was an action star on the rise. This guy was intense, and the energy he brought made his fights look like they were straight out of a real-life battle. And you know what? Over the years, Scott became known for being that guy who could take on just about anyone in a fight scene, no matter how big or tough the other actor was. Just look at his work in The Expendables 2 or Ninja. They cemented him as one of the best in the business. But here's the thing that sets Scott apart. He's not just about throwing punches and kicks. There is a certain finesse in his fighting style, a choreography that you really can't teach. And it's so impressive because of how much he does himself. He is a true martial artist at heart. Even today, he's still pushing the boundaries of what we expect from action movies, mixing in incredible stunts with intense heart-pounding combat. Scott Adkins didn't just make a name for himself in Hollywood. He redefined the action genre a bit, and he's still out there doing it. My man Scott is like a fine wine. He just keeps getting better with age. And it's in a box. I like box wine. Well, folks, there you have it. A trip down memory lane with some of the most legendary martial artists to ever grace the silver screen. From Bruce Lee breaking barriers to Jackie Chan's jaw-dropping stunts and Seagal's no-nonsense precision. These icons didn't just entertain us, they changed the game. They changed us. Whether it was the high-flying kicks, the impossible stunts, or the sheer charisma, these stars gave us some of the most unforgettable moments in film history. And hey, it's not just about their fighting skills, which are sharp. It's about the stories they told and the way they captured our imaginations. So hey, who was your favorite? What was your favorite fight scene from anything we mentioned? And did I forget a legend? I hope not, but if so, get in the comment section and let us know. We can always make a round 2. If you enjoyed the video, which we sure hope you did, please punch that like button and subscribe so you never miss a memory. But most importantly, from my entire team here at Do You Remember, thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful action-packed day.